Hello and welcome to another Retro Countdown presented by Quinforce Gaming, where we take a few minutes to shed some light on a particular topic covering any past-gen console and compile a list of 5 of the best examples.
You're playing with power!
Today's top 5 is focusing on the weirdest controllers in gaming history, so our rankings are going to be based on how different their design was from the norm, along with how well they were received by the public. So sit back and enjoy. Basically, the Konami laser scope is a head-mounted laser gun. You know, because that flimsy plastic gun was just too heavy for some people. It was designed for the NES and released in 1990 in conjunction with the game Laser Invasion, but it actually works with any other NES light gun game, like Duck Hunt and so on. So this controller works like this. It's voice activated, so you have to shout fire when you want to shoot. Actually, any loud noise will cause this gun to shoot. It's got built-in headphones so the controller can immerse you more deeply into the game, and so that your parents can sit in peace and quiet. Well, apart from the child sitting in front of the TV shouting fire every 5 seconds. If you want to be extra cool, you can even detach the light gun element and use them as headphones while using your Game Boy. So cool! Yeah, this controller is crap. Now here's a controller that genuinely made some clever choices, even though its design and function at first seemed pretty bizarre. It might look to some that the Namconichicon has chosen to replicate wringing out a wet towel as its main driving function, but give it a go and the design actually makes sense. What Namco wanted to do when creating this was to up the level of precision that a controller could give the player in order for them to have a more accurate driving experience. The turning of the virtual car by twisting the controller might not give it a feeling of realism, but it definitely gave the feeling of control. And the buttons themselves had changed. Namco removed 2 of the shoulder buttons and threw select in the trash for one thing, but also did something with the standard buttons that very few controllers did since, up until the present generation. They lengthened the button itself so that it had to be pushed down further for you to hit full speed. This enabled the player to push the button with different pressures to gain differing speeds. This was something that you couldn't really do with the standard X, circle, square and triangle buttons, as they were too shallow. I actually really love this controller, and it worked on most racing games for the PS1 and some on PS2. The NES Power Glove is probably one of the more famous or recognisable controllers on this list, due to its unique look and cult following. The controller is pitched as having motion control and virtual reality mechanics, giving the player the ability to actually feel a part of the game, supposedly.
A Power Glove, everything else is child's play.
It was designed specifically for Nintendo and built by the toy company Mattel, with the goal being that the controller would work with a whole series of games released in the early 90s. Unfortunately, due to its poor sales, only 2 games were ever released with the Power Glove functionality: the beat-em-up game Bad Street Brawler and the 3D puzzle maze game Super Glove Ball, with points going to Nintendo for the most on-the-nose game title of the year. 3 other games were announced but never released. Those games would still work with the original controller, but the special moves could only be activated with the Power Glove. So motion could be controlled through the movement of the fingers, and 9 numbered buttons on the arm allowed the player to adapt the functions of the other gaming buttons. And small speakers built into the glove were able to determine the yaw and roll of the player's hand. Despite the fact that the Power Glove was such a failure, references to it have been seen in the media all the way up to today.
I love the Power Glove. It's so bad.
With it making appearances in a number of movies and TV shows such as The Wizard, Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare and Beethoven, among others.
Well then, it's hacking time.
Atari, exploring new frontiers of technology with innovations that excite consumers and stimulate sales.
Well, this advert just perfectly sums up the Mindlink. Utter shit. It's a testament to the quality of Atari's last hurrah that a better quality version of this commercial just isn't available. The Mindlink was never actually widely released, partly due to the collapse of the industry in the early 80s. Such a shame. The Mindlink was unique in that its headband form factor controls the game by reading myoneural signal voltage from the player's forehead, and the player's forehead movements are read by infrared sensors and transferred as movement in the game. Right. So whilst a cool concept, During testing, it was found that people just couldn't handle using this controller. It was incredibly unresponsive, and players stopped playing after only a few minutes due to headaches brought on by frantically moving their eyebrows up and down to play the game. Honestly, the less said about this the better. Take it away, Atari voiceover guy.
Get ready for the amazing Atari Mindlink, an exciting and unusual new way to operate Atari home computers.
Okay then. So yet another NES entry. R.O.B. A fantastically misguided idea that I absolutely love, but really never should have made it to the market.
When you master R.O.B, the video robot, and meet the challenge of Gyrobytes.
Originally released in 1983, R.O.B, or Robotic Operating Buddy, was designed to show the NES as more than just a gaming machine, that it could be played with like an interactive toy. This was all a bit of a snap reaction to the video game crash in order to hope to prove Nintendo's staying power. Unfortunately, despite its cool looks and frankly awesome concept, R.O.B was just plain, well, shit really. The way R.O.B worked was massively overcomplicated. Optically linked up to the console, R.O.B would be given commands by the player through the game in order to affect something on the screen and attempt to add a layer of interactivity to the proceedings. But what R.O.B actually did was lift multicoloured pads and place them on spinning discs to effectively press game buttons. It was frustratingly laboured and slow, most of the time missing the button command altogether. Overall, it's a shame that so many of these bizarre controllers were failures, especially for Nintendo, who commissioned most of them. It shows that perhaps in the early 80s, when nobody had a real idea of exactly what a successful controller looked like, so many companies were attempting to be more innovative and game-changing in their design. It's almost a bit too boring nowadays, although if you think about it, Nintendo was still the only company really trying to be individual, what with the N64, GameCube and Wii controllers of the last 15 years. Here's hoping that PlayStation release their version of R.O.B very soon.
Reassemble, Stephanie. Reassemble.
So what did you make of our list? Have we missed a controller that you think should have been included? Or would you rank them differently? If so, we would love to hear your views in the comments section below. And don't forget to subscribe for more retro countdowns here on Quinforce Gaming.
That button is your future. Go ahead, press it.